bumbling bureaucrats, lazy lawmakers, and pallid politicians everywhere you look. It's a miracle anything gets done around here. But you're different. You have ambition, a certain drive that makes you stand out amongst the crowd. You got into the public sector to make a difference, and people are starting to notice. Now it's your chance to prove that you have what it takes to become the mayor of Small City. Over the course of 8 rounds, you'll be given control over a borough of Small City to prove that you can be trusted with the responsibility of running the whole thing on your own. You'll oversee construction of residential, commercial, and industrial buildings while being mindful of pollution levels. Having a well-manicured municipality is all well and good, but your ultimate goal is to gain the favor and the votes of the people. At the beginning of each round, the starting player will host the mayor. The opponents will then place the mayor in that player's borough, blocking off that section for development. The starting player will then select one of the public figures to aid them for the round. Each figure comes with their own special ability. The mediator gives you a discount when building, the engineer reduces pollution, and the opponent, well, he doesn't do anything but waste your time. So you might wonder, why would anyone choose the opponent? Well, when it comes your turn to choose a figure, you pay $1 for every space away you are from the previous player's selection. This gives you flexibility in your choice, but it comes with a cost. Next comes the building phase, which is done behind a player screen so that players can act simultaneously to speed up play. You have 2 options. You can construct 3 separate buildings, or 1 building and increase the size of your borough, giving you more room to operate. Each building costs $1 per space that they take up, but there are some restrictions to consider. Residential buildings can't be placed adjacent to industrial buildings. But a more important consideration are the prerequisites for the larger buildings. In order to construct a level 2 residential building, it needs to be influenced by 2 cultural buildings. A level 3 residential building needs 3 cultural buildings, and so on. Commercial buildings need to be influenced by residential buildings, and industrial buildings require refineries and harbors. The game becomes a spatial puzzle in which you work towards the current needs of your buildings while also considering their future needs grow. You'll explore different layouts and configurations as you experiment with different construction strategies while also meeting the demands of a growing city. Paying for large buildings can get expensive quick, but there's another way. If you set it up so that a building has met the requirements for a higher level, it can grow automatically. By adding another cultural building here, this level 2 residential building has met the requirements for level 3 and will grow on its own. And this is the spark that lights Small City's fire. I'm pretty upfront about my predilection for growth in the games that I play. I love seeing empty spaces on the board fill up as a result of my play, and that's exactly what Small City offers. Every building that you construct is potential. It's an idea unrealized. Your initial seeds of development, through smart planning and clever play, will blossom into a bustling metropolis by the game's end. It might be hard to wrap your head around at first, but once you realize that the growth of one of your buildings has enabled the growth of another, the scales fall from your eyes and you begin to see the possibilities. Getting these chain reactions is as close to cardboard heaven as there is. I'll readily admit that it's a bit cumbersome to switch out building tiles, and keeping track of which buildings grew and which ones were just built is a bit of a pain, but the payoff is well worth it. After building, you can move your citizens around your borough and even into neighboring boroughs. Putting them in residential zones generates votes, commercial zones generates money, and industrial generates resources. You can draw potential citizens if there are available jobs in the industrial zones, but they'll only move in if there are available, affordable level 1 residential homes. Balancing everything can be tricky and is your main consideration while planning future building projects. After gathering your money, resources, and votes, you count up the pollution you generate based on the number of citizens in your borough and the resources generated in the industrial buildings. If you generated the most pollution this round, one of your citizens dies and takes permanent residence in your borough's cemetery. Pollution is cumulative and is worth negative votes at the end of the game. If you ever manage to hit 100% pollution, you immediately lose the game. If your pollution levels are getting too high for comfort, you might want to consider building some parks to improve the air quality. While Small City offers a lot of variety in the form of secret objectives and scoring variants, it's lacking in terms of building diversity. The parks, universities, hospitals, and police stations are a welcome sight, and each bring much needed verisimilitude to the city building experience, but I just want more. Thankfully, designer Albin Viard has released expansions that introduce a whole slew of interesting and varied buildings. There are stadiums and train stations, there are banks and swimming pools, there are movie theaters and airports, and much more. Each comes with a bit of rules overhead, but the spice that they bring to the experience makes it all worthwhile. There's even an expansion featuring Godzilla that feasts on citizens and leaves behind radioactive waste. In much the same way that you construct your burrow, Small City is a foundation that offers plenty of room for expansion, and I can't wait to see what else the designer has in store.